Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod release. Today, we're checking out a brand new pistol mod, and that's going to be the brand new Police Sidearm, not to be confused with the Fallout New Vegas Police Pistol. Unlike the revolver featured in New Vegas's Dead Money DLC, the Police Sidearm is going to be a brand new, compact semi-auto pistol chambered in 9mm, based on a sort of combination of the Smith & Wesson 39 and 59 and a couple of other models. I'm taking some of my favorite parts of those weapons and making a brand new gun that is just sort of a generic Smith & Wesson semi-auto pistol. Kind of like how all of the Fallout guns are, little mishes and mashes of different designs to make something new and unique that fits great in the Fallout universe. This is a really nice little retro pistol and something that I think belongs in Fallout 4 as an early game 9mm. Yes, I know we have the Browning High Power, but I wanted to see something a little bit different, as a lot of people are already going to be making and have already made the Browning High Power from Fallout New Vegas. So the idea with the Police Sidearm is it is a much smaller pistol with an emphasis on being compact and stealthy, and also having a pretty high magazine capacity, as it does feature double stacked mags. So while this thing does have pretty low damage and is intended for generally the early to mid game, this thing is going to be able to shoot quite a bit before you need to reload, especially with some of the attachments available over at the weapons workbench. Now, speaking of the weapons workbench, this thing comes with a ton of customization options in the form of a bunch of different attachments and aesthetic changes that you can make over there. And there's even some more custom stuff in the form of custom animations, though only for one of the uniques. We'll talk about that a bit more in the breakdown of all of the unique weapons, but basically the regular version of this weapon is going to use the standard deliverer animations, and will accept any deliverer reanimations that you decide to download. But on top of that, one of the uniques does have its own tweaked custom animations that will be standalone no matter what you download, because they are required for the way the weapon functions. Again, that'll make more sense later. Now, this weapon is going to require munitions for its 9mm ammo type, but there may or may not be a vanilla version in the future that will use 38, as there were some Smith & Wessons that were chambered in 38 special. As of right now, though, it is going to be another munitions release, because that is just required for the ammo type I wanted to use for this weapon, and it is balanced with 9mm in mind, in all of its attachments and in its damage. And of course also in the level that it spawns at, because this weapon is of course added to the leveled list, and will start spawning all over the wasteland after level 5, and it can be found pretty much anywhere. Raiders, gunners, Minutemen, you name it, people are going to have this thing because it's a pretty common little pistol. Again, implying that this is a police sidearm, you would be able to find this at pretty much any police station, and it would be kind of spread out everywhere. Now, on top of all of that customization, there's even 3 uniques included in this mod. Yes, much more than the single unique that we included last time. We have 3 brand new uniques that are spread all over that we will talk about in great detail in just a moment. But first, let's talk about some of the other finer details included in this mod, starting off with the base weapon and its stats. So here we are in game with the standard police sidearm. As you see, a nice compact little pistol with a cool looking frame and design. I love the silhouette of this guy. I think it's super neat. Now, this thing is going to have a base damage of around 20-ish. It is a little bit higher in my game because of some of the perks and mods I have installed, but it is going to be around damage of 20 for you guys. It has 9mm ammunition, of course, thanks to munitions. Has a fire rate of 66 in semi-automatic. There is no full auto conversion for this thing. It is a pretty standard pistol. Has a range of 93, an accuracy of 60, a weight of 3.6 pounds, and a value of 149 caps in its standard configuration. But that's not all. We have a handful of uniques to look at as well, so let's go ahead and check those out. I will start off with one of the most interesting ones first, and that is the Hush Puppy. The entire reason that we actually made this mod. Now, this thing may look a little bit ugly in the preview menu here, but that's just because black paint looks really weird in preview menus. It looks great in game, much like the last mod that I talked about on the channel. Now, the Hush Puppy is a special configuration that has its own unique meshes, including a custom suppressor, custom iron sights, and a custom frame. This thing is actually based on a real-life weapon, which is going to be a manual action version of the regular pistol. You have to rack the slide manually every single time you fire it. And the reason for that is the real-life version is actually so quiet that the only sound that it makes is when the slide racks, and so having it be manual means that you get to choose when you make that noise rather than being forced to every time you fire the weapon. What that translates to in gameplay is having extremely high stealth bonuses and extremely high stealth damage at the trade-off for a very slow fire rate. But if you pick your shots and you are acting stealthily, this thing is going to work perfectly, being able to take out raiders no problem pretty much in one shot, and then racking the slide for the next shot when you find your next raider target. If you use it correctly, this thing is going to be really, really effective. But if you try to use this in a open combat scenario where you have a lot of enemies to deal with, this probably isn't going to be the perfect weapon for you. It's very much intended to fill a niche role of being extremely stealthy. Now, the Hush Puppy Receiver is going to have a higher base damage, and as you can see, it says bonus damage while sneaking, so it's going to do more damage if it detects that you are sneaking. That's just at a base. But you also get higher critical sneak damage as well, and higher critical attacks and headshot damage. So, this thing, again, is intended to be used for sneaking. But there are some other unique variants that have some different niche roles as well. Like the Protector's Pistol, which is pretty much the inverse of the Hush Puppy. This thing is meant to be loud. It has a 25% faster fire rate and a 15% faster reload, and comes default with the Hair Trigger Receiver. So you can fire this thing pretty much as fast as you want, spray and pray with a nice little compact pistol. And it includes a pretty neat little Commonwealth weaponry design here, with some plain inspired paint, green paint with checkers, yellow, and some nice little shark teeth on the front there. I think it's a pretty neat looking little gun. But there is one more unique that's a little bit more generic, so if you don't want to spec into either of those roles, you have the Hellraiser's Heatmaker, which is just going to be a nice little incendiary option, offering some fun little caution stripes and a nice little flame warning decal. Pretty neat looking little pistol. This was just kind of a fun one to throw in with the other two, just to have as an option for people who want a pretty generic unique that still is rather effective with that nice added fire damage. Now, I did seem to forget the locations for these guys, so if you want to grab these weapons, the Hush Puppy is going to be at an overpass located near Slocum's Joe's, which is actually outside of Lexington. You may recognize this location if you've played the Railroad Quest line at all. It's where you first meet up with Deacon out in the Commonwealth. The Protector's Pistol, which is a Commonwealth weaponry unique, is one that you're going to have to actually purchase from Arturo over in Diamond City, as he is running Commonwealth weaponry. So if you want to get this thing, you're going to have to go buy it from him. And as for the Hellraiser's Heatmaker, this thing is actually found over in the Lexington apartment buildings. You're going to have to fight through quite a bit of raiders to get your hands on this thing, but once you do, you're going to have a nice, fun little pistol. It's actually not too far from the Hush Puppy. They're relatively close together in terms of the whole Fallout 4 map, so they're kind of there. You can kind of get them both in one trip. But that's going to be up to you depending on which pistols you actually think are worth grabbing. Now, even though this thing does use vanilla animations, I do want to show them off really quick, because again, I want to show off how this thing actually looks and how the clipping works to determine if this is something you want to put in your game. So, here we are with the base version of the pistol. As you can see, pretty standard stuff with deliverer animations. Pretty accurate as well. Once you get to some of these smaller targets, iron sights are not going to cut it. But it will hit things at a decent range, though there are optics available at the weapons workbench as well. But we also have the Hush Puppy, which is going to perform a bit different. As you can see, it has some raised iron sights, and then you have to rack the slide every time you shoot it, much like I talked about before. Picking your shots, but getting rewarded with higher damage, especially while sneaking. Pretty fun little guy. Now then, let's talk attachments over at the weapons workbench. For receivers, we have standard up through advanced, pretty simple stuff. There is, of course, one more unique attachment only available for the Hush Puppy, and that is the Hush Puppy Receiver, which actually puts this thing in the bolt action configuration. Bolt action, not literally, but what it is in the CK side of stuff. Then for barrels, we have a short barrel, a long barrel extension, and a long light barrel extension, which has a nice cutout, inspired by some Beretta barrels that we saw online. For grips, we have a bunch of grip options. We have the standard wood grip, a taped version of that grip, and a comfort version of that grip. We also have stealth grips, which will give you a nice little stealth bonus, which are painted black wood. We also have taped and comfort versions of those as well. And finally, a light grip, which is going to be a plastic grip, again with tape and with a comfort grip as well. So lots of configuration there and customization depending on what you like. For magazines, we have the standard mag, an extended mag, and a high capacity mag. For the sights, we have standard iron sights, glow sights of course, a nice little built-in laser sight, the brand new dot sight, hollow sight, and reflex sight, which were all modeled for this weapon to have some nice options for pistols in a smaller configuration. A tactical dot sight, which is going to add a laser to the dot, and then the same for the hollow and reflex, which is going to add even better stats than the regular versions of these sights. And then that leaves us the muzzle options, where we have options for no muzzle, a compensator, a muzzle brake, a makeshift suppressor in the form of a Nuka-Cola can, and a regular suppressor, which has a nice model. Big thanks to Electrator for putting that together, and then me for texturing it. This thing looks pretty snazzy. I love the zip tie aesthetic. There is also technically one other suppressor, and that is going to be the heavy Hush Puppy suppressor, but again, that is only available to the Hush Puppy itself. You can't put that on any other versions of this pistol. So yeah, guys, I believe that covers just about everything with the brand new Police Sidearm. A fun little early game pistol to throw into your game. If you're into this kind of thing, go ahead and download it. It will be linked down in the description below as always. I am not sure if there's an Xbox port for this one quite yet, but I'm sure there will be one at some point in the future. But you can definitely grab it if you're over on the Nexus. If you do and you enjoy it, consider giving it an endorsement. It really helps out the mod. And if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping it a like. It'll help it gain some traction and get this mod out to more people. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you'd like to support my work directly, you can do so using the link down in the description, or you can support me over on Patreon, but it is of course optional. That is just sort of a donation thing for people who are into that. By no means is it something you have to do, just a way to support me if you're into that kind of a thing. Or there's even the YouTube super thanks. I don't know too much about them, but I know that they exist if you want to support me directly with a nice small donation on a mod-to-mod basis. Anyways, enough of that stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the mod, and I hope you enjoyed the video. With that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!